asses whooped.
Awesome. We had a little meeting with our some of our North Texas team. Some of those folks are staying on, so I want to thank everybody for jumping on the call. Got some folks from Arkansas, got some folks from OKC, uh, Anthony from Dallas, Lumsden from Austin. So we got good coverage here. We'll let everybody just come in. We'll begin this meeting at 8. Some of the people, it was very short notice, couldn't be on the meeting. So I am recording this. I will upload it to our YouTube page. Couple things for the folks that are on that may not know. Brian Slauson took over our social media presence yesterday. He's putting stuff on LinkedIn, putting stuff on Instagram, putting stuff on Facebook. I am going to give him control of our YouTube page. I'm going to leave it up to him because, again, I ain't the boss. And second, I don't want to be a know-it-all. But fellas, I want to challenge you guys to start doing some 15-second recordings about store visits, shooting them to Brian. Maybe we can do something with it. Not sure if you saw what he did with just still photos of Jason Banks yesterday, but Jason did some training. He put some music on it, threw it online. I think it's going to be very helpful as Brian starts to dig in all those things. So all of that is not coming. It's here. So let's start being a little cooler with what we do. We've never leaned into social media. Now we have someone that's extremely capable to put out a message. So let's start giving him some content. Let's
Hey,
start.
Mitch.
Yes.
Mitch, on that note with Brian real fast, I'm starting to utilize him for my menu projects for the designs and finding a local person for printing. And I'll tell you, first one he did, he knocked it out of the park, man. He's on it. So he's a
Okay.
good resource for that too.
I want to share with you. Wait. This is not going to turn into the Brian Slauson ass kissing fest. I'm not going to stand for it. God damn it.
This is opposite.
Okay, what is it, Aaron? If you're going to shit on Brian, you're free to speak.
I need Brian's help. Is Nick Sly on this thing? I hope so.
Yes, Nick is here as well.
When you Google who's the regional manager of Austin, Texas, you know what it says?
What's it say?
Nick Sly. Nick Sly is the regional manager of all routes.
Nick Sly.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Good job, Nick.
Just want y'all to know that.
Why doesn't Nick make the money Aaron makes if he's the manager of all
Nick
of this?
just wants his return on his investment, bro. He's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right?
Yeah.
That's why I keep getting all these fuckers phone calls.
No, we're just teasing, but thanks for tuning in, Brian and everybody. So it's 8. Let's get started. Also, we got Greg from San Antonio. First, I just want to talk to you guys about 360 in general. And I'm share a screen with you guys. None of what I'm saying is a secret. If you want access to this sheet, I've already sent it to some of you, but like we're keeping score now on 360, what it does. So let me give you an overview. Let me share with you guys my screen. So first, conceptually, we were kind of challenged a couple of years ago at some stores to think of something nobody else has thought of. John was on the call, but I think he fell off. I'm not sure if I think he's gone, but like we first started pitching some aggressive per car stuff in John's territory. It didn't really stick. We didn't have down our speech. When we launched 360, it started with a couple of stores from Aaron, and the goal was to make it a top 5 product by the end of Q1. Oh, good. John's here too. So we began our first month at $32,000. The last 2 months, we've been over $200,000. This may sound daunting to the folks in here, but by this time next year, I would like for this to be $1 million. And I think it's very doable. So I just want to have these little group sessions of about every quarter and kind of talk to you about what your speech is, not the whole thing, but kind of your highlights, what is working for you, and what's being said out in the field by your customers so we can sharpen our pitch. So today it's going to be the first one. I'm going to kick it off. After, just be ready. Aaron, I want you to talk about how you're doing it. Nick, I want to talk about how you're doing it and what is said. And then Greg, this was unrehearsed, but if you're able to discuss how you're talking about it at some of the larger groups, that's what I want to discuss. So let me share with you guys what the essence of my speech is. I've had many conversations with general managers. I've been really fortunate with who I can meet with. I also have 27 years in the car business. And I got to hang out with the owner for like 5 years. So I can talk to owners. I share with people I was that guy. I was over promoted. But with that being said, I got to rub elbows with a lot of cool people. And we got a program that I think might work with how they do business. One of the things that I've seen recently is service drive defections are very expensive. And what I mean is, for you guys, no role playing, when someone buys a car and doesn't service it at where they bought the car, two general manager buddies of mine have estimated that costs the dealership $825. Now, what's interesting is 2 out of every 3 used car customers defect. So watch. You get out your phone, you go to calculator, 60 cars, okay? If 2 out of 3 defect, that means only 20 cars are coming back. 40 times 825 is $33,000 a month. A service drive or a dealership loses by customer defections. Most common one at a Ford store, somebody trades in a Tundra with 79,000 miles on it. It's out of warranty. They didn't buy an extended warranty. How likely is it that Tundra revisits your store to do oil changes? If you ask a general manager that, they're going to say not very likely. Well, what if we did this? What if we made it to where every used car customer that purchases a car at XYZ Motors has an eligibility for a lifetime warranty? What? Yeah, no matter the make, no matter the model, no matter the miles. If you buy your car at XYZ Motors and come back and service it here, you get a warranty anywhere in the world. Let me share with you how it works. So our program is 6 months, 6,000 miles. That's from the date of sale. And then I'm going to give your service drive 10,000 more miles to pitch them any of my services to get a warranty. Normally, that warranty is capped at 100,000 miles. But again, we're offering you a special program where we take the mileage cap off. And what I want to do is help every customer make the decision that XYZ Motors is going to be where they service their vehicle. That's what I want to help y'all do. Sounds pretty good, right? What if we could make those defections go from 40 a month to 30? Already I'm saving you $8,500 doing that, and the customers ought to be happier. But that's not all we do. When you go with our program, all of your service drive chemicals, all of your ancillary shop supplies, stuff like brake cleaner, nuts, bolts, and screws, we're going to roll that all into one price. The price is $200 a car. How we would do it throughout the month, we'll bring you some kits. We'll drop them off. Everything we drop off is for free. At the end of the month, and by the 7th of the next month, we ask you how many used cars you sold last month. We multiply that by $200, and that's what they bill you. So it's only one bill. That should make your ladies in accounting happier. It's more streamlined. It'll make your service drive make more money. You can split that up between parts and labor. It's up to you. We don't really care, but you're going to be generating more labor. Most people bring in our parts at 1 cent. If you're an incentive store, we can still pay incentives. We would bill those out just like we bill out incentives now. So if we put $10 on every brake fluid exchange, we'd drop off 12 bottles of brake fluid and bill you for $120 for incentives. All of your shop supplies now become revenue generating. There's no janitorial cost for new car department. We're going to pick that up as well. We add a $50 rebate to that $200, and we'll rebate back your dealership or management team that $50. A lot of people are using that to pay for Christmas parties. All of the cost of service drive chemicals, janitorial detail, and our protection, all are paid for on the car. You probably already have some packs on your car that you could replace with our pack. That's it. That's my pitch. Kind of touches on what new cars get, what used cars get, and I start opening up for questions. That's how I do it. We could back into pricing. There's a lot of things we'll talk about pricing later, but that's my pitch and how I talk about it. Anybody have any questions on my pitch before I go to Aaron and then Nick and kind of talk about how they've been pitching it and what they hear? Anybody got any questions of me? Y'all good with that? Aaron, why don't you come back online and kind of talk to us about what you've been saying, how you've been saying it, and what you've been seeing out in the field for you. Are you still there, Aaron?
Aaron, wake up.
Maybe you had to take a dump. How about you, Nick? Are you available to kind of go over your pitch? What's been working? What you've been hearing in Memphis?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, well, so to start out, it really just depends. Like Memphis is a little bit different. If I'm going in a place with no history versus a customer that we already have. But I typically start out. I just say something along the lines of like, we've always had a used car program, and I kind of touch on that, and then I say, but the reason I'm here is we have a new program, Mach 360, and essentially, I kind of break that down and say, look, basically how this works is, we would warranty every used car that you sell. And for that, we would provide all your shop supplies, janitorial, service drive chemicals at no cost. And so it's kind of hard to pitch this without having an actual person there because it kind of depends on how that goes. But, a lot of times I'll ask them like, hey, can you hide $200 in this vehicle? And every single person has said, of course I can. And so I'm not trying to escape the fact that what we're doing is packing their expenses into the price of the used vehicle. And so that's kind of the gist of it, basically, is just going in. I talk about, a lot of times if they're using BG, I'll ask them like, are you on a BG used car program? And so I kind of segue off of that. But that's pretty much the gist of it, man. Just go in. Hey, we got a new program. It's outside the box. It's different than, what anybody's ever offered before. And kind of just, it's really a conversation, to be honest with you. But what I've seen is the biggest hurdle for me has been it's too good to be true. So a lot of people, the first question they'll ask me is how can y'all do this? And so that's where I start to talk about, well, how we can do this is, we manufacture a lot of our own shop supplies, and I exaggerate and add to it, but I tell them, a couple of years ago, we bought a wheel weight company. we started manufacturing wheel weights. That's been quite the process, but we've really got it dialed in. We've expanded into absorbent pads and gloves. And then, I touch on some of the other stuff we sell as well, 3M, Extra Seal, all those items. And I essentially tell them that, we've used our purchasing power to negotiate agreements to get good pricing and that we buy in bulk. So, a lot of times if they say, well, we spend $5,000 a month on shop supplies, I tell them, well, that's retail. So you're looking at a retail number, I'm looking at a cost. So that's kind of how I explain how we can do this essentially. And then the other part is it just sounds too good to be true. And there's a lot of skepticism. It depends on where you're at. So I've had some people that, like in East Texas or Memphis that haven't heard of Mach. They think that this is some type of fly-by-night program where we're just being ultra aggressive, trying to get our foot in the door. And so, again, that's why I say it's kind of a conversation is it can go in a lot of different directions based on who you're talking to. And if you're talking to a customer that you already have, I mean, the conversation can be completely different. So it's hard for me to just say, hey, this is how I pitch it, but I always start with, hey, we've always had a used car program. The way that works is da 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 da. And I kind of explain to them on that, it's not a flat pack. You get to pick and choose which vehicles that you put it in. On this program, what we want to do is warranty every single used car that you sell. And the way that that works, and I talk about the process, rep's going to come by, he's going to generate an invoice. It'll have pricing on there, but it'll be zeroed at the bottom. And then I tell them, at the end of the month, you'll essentially send me a report. We sold X amount of cars, and we're going to reply back with an invoice, that many cars times the agreed upon price. And it's pretty simple when you really look at it that way. So that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
A couple of things that I want to touch base on there. Try to always mention that we can add a rebate to this. That rebate does open the ears of some people it doesn't. And the reason that I bring that up right now, what Nick is saying is true. The hot button for a dealership could be different for every dealership because maybe the big guy, the big lady is the parts director. Maybe that straw that stirs the drink is the general manager. So you got to be ready to talk about what that person finds interesting. What I've found, GMs don't mind that rebate at all because it slides right to them. So like that rebate has opened the eyes and ears of some important folks. All right, Aaron, kind of talk to us. What's your pitch? What do you add?
I do want to give kudos to Nick real quick
in
front of everybody because not everybody may know this. He's pushing so hard on BG accounts that the BG rep called Mach.
Yeah, to say, how are you guys doing this? That's true.
Is possible and da-da-da-da-da, and Slauson answered the phone. And I just, in my opinion, if we're not out pushing Mach 360 at competitor stores, we're missing the boat. But to hear that come back the way it did, it was just kudos to Nick.
Yeah, it's certainly drawing the attention of the competition. I'll share with you guys what Petra is offering in a territory or two. Petra's doesn't have an A to Z everywhere. So what they've said is, we'll just pay the invoices. We'll match what they said. I think it was at the time $175 a used car. And they don't do wheel weights and that stuff. So they said, we'll just buy your wheel weights for you. So like, not everybody has this. So it is putting some pressure on the competition. Aaron, go ahead. What's kind of the nuts and bolts of your pitch? And then we'll open it up to questions.
So the most important thing that I found out that you have to have is general manager buy-in. I try to venture. I like to pitch it to the service manager for a second, but then get off of him because he's not a decision maker. The only decision makers in the place, it's not parts. It is the GM. It's a GM program that I basically sell it to the GM. And like Nick says, I do get with the general managers and I'll ask them, if you know, can you hide $180? I don't like to say warranty. I've talked to because outside warranty, there's some more stuff we're supposed to do when it's a customer warranty versus an inside warranty versus or just basically being a safe for the actual the customer, not or the dealer, not the customer. So I asked them if they can hide that money in that car, and when they do, I explain how they can effectively push all of their expenses right out to that car, and with it comes the warranty. One of the things I always tell them is I don't typically say no to I don't say no. I mean, I have lately. I've said no once, but typically I don't say no to these. So that's basically the nuts and bolts. Is I go straight to the GM, get his excitement, and the pitch is hard because it's from my hip. I mean, I just whatever I do is it's all on the spot. Just getting creative on the spot. I guess I know because I've been dealing with you, Mitch, and we've been running through Focus, and we've been looking at numbers, so we know what makes sense and what don't.
Yeah. Something on the numbers. Something on the numbers. This needs to be covered. First, Scott is pretty firm that he would like $200 a car. However, sometimes we don't get what we want. Let me just share with you guys something that Keith and I discussed. He kind of came up with this. I'll go back to my calculator. So say the store buys, and Tad talked, because sometimes this just doesn't work because you sell so much to a dealership, but just bear with me. You go to a store that buys $2,700 of shop supplies and $2,500 of mock from you a month. So they're spending $5,200. And they sell 60 used cars a month. You divide that 5,200 by 60, and that's $86 we have to hide in our used car kit. Well, how many of you would take used cars at $100? Everybody. So that's $186. If you sold that store $186 kit times 60, our top line number would go from $5,200 to $11,200. Boys, that's a big ass win.
It doubles.
That's just a big ass win. So look.
Hey. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Nick. I
was just thinking about something. A big part of the Memphis thing is, and I was thinking about all you guys who have big BG accounts. One of the biggest things that's happened in Memphis is, people are loyal. They've had the same guy for 20 years. And so you can tell them, look, you don't have to switch from BG or Petra or whatever. We can do this with just shop supplies. And that can actually lower the cost a little bit. So you made me remember that when you started talking about numbers.
Just the other day, Aaron was told, we will not switch from BG Chemical. However, can you build a program that gives us everything but BG? And we said yes. So we're still working that group. It's just likely going to come in around $145 or $155.
They literally said we would much rather pay for BG product than get it for free. That says
something. And it could be bullshit, and somebody could be getting paid under the table, and could be. But guess what? You got two choices. You can either embrace what they've offered you and pitch them a program with ancillary detail, janitorial with our program, or tell on them, try to get somebody exposed and fired, and just create a angrier enemy. For me, boys, I'll take the path of least resistance. I will. I'll take the path. Now, that's me. If y'all want to fight and battle and expose people, do it at your will. But man, I would just rather do it with ancillary.
I mean, throw Lithia in there, guys. I mean, right now, Lithia, the regional manager at Lithia, Ali, has given the green light, and we're doing it at 2 stores in South Texas, Access Ford and Cal Allen Dodge, where we're selling used car programs for ancillary only at $175 a kit.
Yes.
Yep.
Mitch,
So another thing I think that I forgot earlier, sorry to jump in, but
Okay.
I've been telling people that, and I'll just grab something on the desk. So I kind of go through, look, we want to warranty every used car, 6 months, 6,000 miles, covers engine, trans, coolant, fuel, power steering, and AC. And for that, you get all your shop supplies, all your ancillary products, all your service drive chemicals at no cost. And so if they're locked in with BG and they don't want to switch, I just tell them, look, to me, it makes more sense to include those chemicals, but you don't have to. And if you don't, it may reduce the cost a little bit. But what I do is I'll reach over and grab a stapler or something on their desk, and I use the analogy. I say, look, what this does is it can actually raise your margins in both parts and service. And I just tell them, if I sell you this for $10 and parts marks it up 40%, let's just say that's 15.60. Parts makes $5.60 and service pays $15.60. What you could do is, since it's free, is parts could sell this to service for $8 and they make $3 more in gross, and service saves $7, which they can apply to the labor. And so it actually raises your margins in both departments. And then on top of that, what happens when you do this, when you don't pay for shop supplies, whatever you charge right now on every RO for shop supplies, if it's 10%, well, that goes straight to your net now. So you don't have an expense to recoup anymore. So you actually create a new revenue center out of that shop supply line. Now, some people pay for special tools and, they do weird shit with their shop supply money. But, I think that's really important. I think every time you pitch it, you should talk about that. You should use that analogy. Because what I've seen, and it's really interesting, is like there's people out here that have, been fixed ops guys for 30 years, and they're having trouble wrapping their mind around this. And I don't know, for me, I've never even worked in a dealership, and I just think it's weird that there's people out here been doing it a long time and they can't quite grasp it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I've seen. Oh, and it is one of those things where you have to continue to conversate. You
Yeah.
pitch it, and then you come back, and what you'll see is people seem to hyper fixate on one aspect or the other. A lot of times it might be the math, the number. So I come back and they say, well, man, if we sell 100 cars at a $180, that's $18,000 or whatever, and I don't know that we would ever use that much warranty or whatever. And so then you have to go back and hammer, okay, let's talk about this again. Let's look at how much do you average on shop supplies, and you start trying to back into the math with them, but you kind of have to steer them back on course,
Yeah.
because that's just what I've seen is people.
One other thing that keeps coming up too, some people have their own warranty internal. They do this already. A lot of those places, it doesn't kick in though for 30 days. So we can just cover that 30-day gap and maybe give them a $15 or $20 reduction in cost because we're only on the hook for 30 days. If we make any concessions like that, we need to put that in the agreement. So when we pay claims, we know.
Don't get hammered.
So that's kind of some pitches. What anybody else? We'll just open the floor. What are you seeing? What are you hearing that we can go over? Anybody got anything specific they want to talk about or ask?
I think working with Aaron on these deals, one thing I noticed that Aaron's doing really good of, and he's reeling me in to make sure the process is, we like Nick said earlier, we got to make sure from start to finish we're involved, conversations, and with all departments when it's all over. So when they get that first bill and they've got $20,000, $17,000 invoices sitting in front of them, they are going through the roof, not knowing who's getting billed. We got to make sure all departments are understanding what's really going on.
Well, I want to be as transparent as we can be on this. Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't want to lie. Don't want to con people. Don't want to put
Absolutely.
people under the rug. So yeah, I want to be very open and honest with folks.
Yep.
What else? What else y'all seeing? What do y'all want to talk about? Anybody got anything?
Mitch,
Yes, Rob.
with the Cavender group out here in West Texas,
Yes.
the way we did it out here, we did all the ancillary detail and used car kit, but the mock chemicals they still wanted to buy. They didn't want it included in Mach 360, and so we tailored it that way, and it's working out great.
That could become the model at Cavender. Greg wasn't able to stay on, but we're trying to launch it at Cavender Toyota. They've said if they do it at Cavender Toyota and they like it, that they're going to make all the stores get on it. So that'll include Confidence and things like that. But we'll just see. I like the model of everything but mock. I do. I like that model. It's a good model. Sometimes you got to use the mock to reel it in. Sometimes it becomes your go-to speech. Just again, remember, we don't have to charge $200 for that. If they're spending $5,000 in shop supplies and detail and they sell 125 cars, please remember that all we have to do is just kind of tack on $40. So again, if we're at 140, 145, 155 would be cutting a fat hog in the ass. So
That's what we did out here.
Yeah, don't get real greedy on that. Okay. And again, that is a dead number. So what I mean is like, if it would be $140, but you want to rebate the store back 10%, make that shit $158. Build your rebate in off of that number that we're figuring out. Cool.
I do want to kind of speak for Jason Banks. I know he's not on this call, but use his success with it as a big example of how to kind of take your wins with your losses and include a rebate. He's got a real sticky manager up there for y'all that don't know. I don't even know if he's a manager. He's kind of a consultant, but he has a lot of pull and a lot of say on how Phil Long operates. And he's a very hard guy to make happy. So it was I hate to say this, but we kind of ran a trial run at a couple stores in a big group. And look, one of those stores was not a heavy hitter. We probably were breaking even, if not potentially, right on the cusp if they had a bad month of losing money at one store. And the other store was a decent store. But with the effort and the program and how they saw it work at those two locations and the rebate attached to it, I mean, it's been 60 days and they've tripled their number of stores already bringing on. They just brought on another one. And hopefully here soon, we're going to have the entire group on the program. And I mean, at that point, we're going to be printing money at this location. So don't be afraid. I mean, Rob's got another one. He's got a couple really good stores in Cavender in his area that are doing really well. And another one that's, it's cutting thin. But if you've got a group, don't always hyper focus on that one store that's not doing so well. If you look at it collectively, it's a very good, asset because collectively it makes money.
Yep. And I mean, I know this is kind of off limits, but I do want to mention something about Lubbock in particular. So yes. Oh, yeah. Through the first quarter, year over year, we're about $8,000 more profitable in Lubbock than we were in the first quarter last year. For Colorado, it has helped profitability immensely. So man, one little tweak, especially if Ronnie Calais, again, Ronnie landed it at 4 stores. They sell about 85 used cars a month. And just simply adding 360 at those stores has boosted Ronnie's profitability about $5,000 a month. And at the little territories, man, that adds up. I mean, because we got a dozen of those smaller territories, so it matters. What else? Any questions, comments, concerns? I thought that John has landed 360i at a store. We charged, I believe, $10 a car. That wasn't enough. We're going to let it run this month. That'll be 90 days. I think we are better served going to Independence at $15 a car and not 10. So we'll see what
we did 15.
Oh, so it didn't work at 15.
No, it's not. It's not working at 15.
We're about $200 lower. So it would probably work per month. So it'd probably work at 18, but it didn't work at 15. Adam is pitching 360i, and what 360i, just to make sure everybody is aware, at independent shops, a couple of things happen. One, they don't use a lot of anything because they're smaller. Second, like janitorial, they don't really use much janitorial at all because there's normally 2 stalls inside of a building and the stall that two that the technicians use. So what we're doing is offering shop supplies, just like we do wheel weights and things like that, but not every store uses wheel weights, along with janitorial and mock for one number. So it seems like $18 to $20 a car. Most of these shops write up about 90 to 125 cars a month. So that's something that as we progress, I would love for somebody to land another one of these stores so we can start looking at it. And to tell you the truth, one of the reasons John's doesn't work at $15 is they sell mock. They do. This store, they only have 2 advisors. They're doing 40 or 50 services a month, maybe 65 last month. So it's a very successful mock store. Not every independent sells a lot of mock. So that's something we're working through. I'd love for somebody to land on it so we can kind of get some more numbers behind that. Clay Cooley is another group that I think when you start offering things to one store that has BG at all the stores, it really starts opening doors and getting people thinking. I honestly believe that our efforts at just a couple of those stores are going to land us the entire group. So again, one of the things that you could do at a group you don't have is just to go strong with one store, and again, the effort to land all of the stores. Just some more ideas. Now, I do want to say this because Tad's online. Sometimes 360 don't work, and Keith is on too. Where you just got a store who buys everything from you and just don't sell a lot of used cars. Well, guess what? Don't do it there. 360 is not a one size fits all. Look, man, the guys at Doggett wanted 360. They gave me the numbers. The numbers don't work. We'd had to charge like $350, and the used car director just said, that's just too much. It just didn't work. It probably wouldn't work at Seth Wadley. They buy $50,000 of stuff a month at just one store. I mean, damn. It doesn't have to work. But when you're out talking about it, it sure does open a lot of ears. Cool. What else? Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Brian created a flyer. He's taking some notes, might tweak the flyer. Brian, what questions do you have of us that make your job a little easier?
I don't have any questions. I do like some suggestions when you guys are out there doing like machine training or you're having those type of things. Just like the pictures, the images that I think Jason put in. Who submitted?
Jason
I think it's
did.
Jason,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Just try to get pictures to where you kind of build up to what's happening. One far away so you can be a big group. Focus on the machine. Maybe the actual machine hooked up to the vehicle. Make sure you clean the camera lens on the back of your camera so their pictures aren't fuzzy. But if you guys keep those coming, we can make a reel like I did the other day and get that out, pushed out, and try to get some exposure. Did everybody receive the folders?
Yes.
Those sent out on Friday. Okay. So if you guys need more, there are more at the Dallas warehouse. There's probably another 150, 200.
Cool. I appreciate you doing that. That's a big help. Getting something hand somebody again, it makes it more real when it's official. So I like that. What else? What else do you guys need? Any questions, comments?
We might as well bring up the comment Aaron just sent to Keith. He's here.
Okay. I'm not
Keith,
looking at-
Gary Morrison in Lithia is interested in the Lithia version of Mach 360.
Yes. Yeah. Gary Morse, he reached out to me the other day, just bullshitting with him. And then I asked him, I said, well, what would you think about this? And then I gave him the whole pitch. He's like, they won't let us do that. And I said, well, no, they will. It's just with shop supplies and detail and everything else. And he said, send me the name of the two stores that's doing it, and then have somebody come see me. So, and Justice Brothers in Houston, I did find out. I asked him the down low on why Justice Brothers versus Mach. Just from his perspective, he said that, well, whenever we had an opportunity, Justice Brothers was here. When they were here, and then there was a lot of false narrative about being locked in because they've never been locked in. He said that Gary Moore says that he likes Justice Brothers. They do a good job, but we offer more. He says he obviously would much rather. I think he would like to use us instead, but he said we offer more. Reporting, I talked to him about our reporting. He's interested in that too. So
Aaron, how long has Houston been with Justice Brothers?
You mean Gary Lithia?
Yeah.
Few years.
Couple years, like 2 years now. Yeah. Okay. They just got in there, and then Justice Brothers has done a good job.
No, I mean it was according to the store level, it was a corporate mandate that they switched to Justice Brothers years ago, and I mean that was the MO on the street is they weren't allowed to buy Mach anymore. They had to buy. That was what was coming down the pipeline. They had to buy from Justice Brothers, right. And according to the current status, it's still the same.
Really? Okay. Well, I would go see Gary Morris and maybe try to flip one switch.
I'd hit him with 360 first. $175. You get the pre-owned program and ancillary. I know it may be a little bit different because of Mighty, so we may have to do some things, but yeah, I'd go by. At least we know it's a friendly who's done business with us in the past, so I appreciate it. Anybody else? 360 questions, comments, concerns before we bounce? We good?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes.
Are a lot of you just skipping the service director and going straight to the general manager?
Yes, 100%. Not really. I go through the service director to get to the
Aaron goes where he bounces around everywhere.
I go straight. I'll walk straight to
He'll
the
pitch it to the porter.
I was about to say,
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
To tap on Gary Morris, I find that kind of fucking funny you say that when he just kicked us out on ancillary less than 30, 45 days ago. That's kind of hilarious, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I have no idea.
No, I do.
To
And
me,
he talked to him about Mach 360 and everything, and he turned around and kicked us out.
Well, that's not the way you want it to go. I promise you that. That
sounds about like your Justin Fowler buddy too.
Woo-wee!
Oh,
I like some Fowler.
Thanks for the leads, Aaron. Keep them coming. You're doing great.
I will, baby. I will.
Anybody else? Questions, comments, concerns on 360 before we go?
Yeah, I was gonna chime in about the GM. So, yes, I've been trying to approach the GM first and kind of playing it like, I walk up, I say, look, can I talk to your GM? Or actually, I'll usually look them up on the website first, and I get their name, and I go in and say, hey, is Richard here? Try to act like I'm supposed to be there, basically. But I tell the GM, like, look, I know you're busy. I normally don't approach GMs, but I have something so big that it involves you. And so this is an entire store decision. This is a program that affects everybody. So that's why I'm coming to you today. And kind of, I try to go to the GM first, but it's hard sometimes. But yes, and that's kind of how I play it. Like, man, this thing's
I,
big. This thing's big. You know, so that's why I came
if
to
I
see.
have any advice in a situation, look, if you have a relationship at the store, bypassing your people is probably not a good option. But if you're going after new accounts that you don't have a relationship in, I don't believe it matters where you start. I would start as high as I could get.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree
You're
with
not
that.
burning any bridges by going to a GM at a BG store and pitching a program that's going to benefit that whole account. You don't have, I mean, you're not burning any bridges. So I would
Yep.
absolutely go after the GMs and used car managers and people at stores we don't have business in.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest, man. I think if
Got
y'all should be approaching your biggest BG customers. To be honest, man, this is
All BG
this,
customer.
like,
Definitely.
and the thing is, again, you don't have to switch, but I don't know why you wouldn't. You know, to me, it makes more sense to get the service drive chemicals, and I kind of elaborate on that what it could do. But I'll just give you an example. In Fort Smith, there's a longtime BG store up there, and Garrett just went and followed up last week, and the guy basically told him, he's like, "Man, you have no idea what you've started." He said, "Now I'm in the numbers." He said, "I'm looking at everything." I mean, this guy is balls deep, just analyzing every vendor, everything that they're doing. Said he didn't realize what was going on. And it's just really stirred the pot up. And, so at the end of the day, I mean, whether we get it or not, I mean, we're making BG work and exposing them. You know, that's the big thing too, is I had another guy, longtime BG guy, went to BG chemical school, all that stuff. And he's like, "Man, they kick ass. I brought them here. I brought them there." He's like, "But the thing is, man, they don't have this." And I was like, "Exactly." And the guy had a BG cup, BG calendar, everything. And so, I feel like at the end of the day, go stir the pot up and plant seeds. I don't really see any holes that can be poked in this program. So if you're not out there, stirring the pot, talking to those customers, again, I think it's important definitely to approach our current customers, but this thing's legit. And, from what I've seen, that's what got me so excited was, the first couple stores I walked in were BG stores I had been in previously, couldn't even really get time to sit down and talk with people. And, the guy that I just mentioned that, said he's digging through all the numbers and stuff, I caught him in the parking lot. I was walking out. I gave up and I was leaving, and I caught him in the parking lot, and I just started throwing it at him. And he said, "Hold on a second, man, you got my wheels spinning." And so that turned into a conversation, which has continued over the last month or so. And now he's balls deep analyzing everything. So, I don't know if we're going to end up with it. Probably will, if I had to guess. But if nothing else, we've definitely applied pressure to BG. And you can see that with them reaching out to Mock Corporate. So highly recommend. I mean, it's worth a shot. Just take a day, pick out the biggest customer in your market,
Okay.
go in there, approach the GM, throw it at him, and see what happens. I mean, if you don't, that's on you. So
I, I
And
think I
go
think the
ahead.
success in Memphis was my sexy physique.
That's
Mhm.
it. We have it. In
No, it was definitely your two different color shoes.
That was definitely it.
Thank you.
well, fellas,
Love it.
like I said,
Anthony, if I had to challenge you real quick, I mean specifically related to Lithia, just because you got a ton of Lithia accounts in your market, if they're stuck on Justice Brothers, man, I would take the success they've had in South Texas and push that all over Lithia and DFW, dude. I mean, we have the full green light from Ali to move forward with it, and I would go in exactly like Nick said. Look, if you can't do chemicals, what about everything else? Because if you can grab ancillary and used cars at all the Lithia stores, sales are going to skyrocket. So just think of it as an
$175,
opportunity.
$175 a car, with everything but service drive chemicals. And everything can mean whatever the store wants it to mean.
No.
So, anybody else got anything before we go? I expect that we'll rendezvous again on 360 in a quarter, see what's working, see what isn't. territory wise, Rick and I are going to reach out for some regional meetings. And Brian, I'm hitting you cold on this, but I want to start inviting you to when Rick and I meet with these regionals, because some of the stuff that you do, they're probably going to talk about. So I'll start including you on those meetings. Anybody got anything else before we go?
Y'all just keep looking at the leaderboard. I know Keith puts more mock out there. I get it. Y'all just keep looking into that month. I'm gonna stir the pot now.
That's good. Aaron is taking the lead.
He left already, Aaron.
After he said that, your lead sucks. So
he was
I'm gonna
out.
call Gary myself and see if I can close it.
Okay, I'm just trying.
Yeah, I can give y'all a good Gary Morris story with Keith a long time ago. Gary was one of the first people that I ever got friendly with because of this. Keith and I went to visit Gary's store. Keith went to the back and he said, "Have a seat. What do you do?" And I started talking, and he said, "Man, do you mind if I'm honest with you?" And I was like, "Man, I don't really do well with honesty, but sure. What do you got?" And he was like, "Man, Keith is an asshole." And I was like, "Yeah, he means well though." And he was just like, if you could get him to just ease up. So Gary and Keith have an interesting working relationship. So I'll call Gary and I'll be nice to him and loosen.
Be nice to Gary, and then Lance Parrish too.
It's okay to be nice to folks. And I can't believe I'm the guy that has to say that. I don't like anybody. And even I know, goddamn, why don't we just be nice to Gary Morris? Anyway, also Gary married up, so I always make compliments about his wife. So she's always on Facebook making pictures, and I always say, "Your daughter hasn't aged a day." So anyway, sweet. Anybody else got anything before we bounce?
I'm pretty sure that's why we got kicked out.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, if y'all need something, next week, I believe Rick is going to be in Florida for a few days. Reach out to me if you got any questions. I'm going to be in my office. So if that's it, I will stop